Fletcher, are you there? Well, there's John.
Yeah, John is back. I saw the
Yes.
link. Thank you. Fletch is
There's,
back as well.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
no, that's, go ahead. After
Okay.
our rude little interruption there.
Uh, Thank you. Okay. So we've got some surface materials that are consistent within the developers. This that
Hang on
medium
a
gray.
second, Fletcher, where
Okay.
pictures are catching up to you here.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
Okay, we're good. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Surface materials, sort of a darkish wood with a very dark, almost black metal that has got a little bit of a corrugated look to it. So those surface materials, along with some masonry that support base that we see on um, the Quick Trip Athletic Center, athletic complex. Forgive me. Um, so we worked with those materials like that to provide a cohesive experience, but and also do something that's maybe a little bit different to stand out. So there's a little bit of a balance there. And we will show those to you in these two concepts. So this is one direction with different variations of what we could do for this. This is a gateway sign, meaning the entrance. So it marks the start of the place. So DeForest Yards District is the recommended name. And we're just thinking that let's pick some typography that is that echoes what's being done by the developers, but also stands on its own and works well with the village identity. So we've got the district name at the top, very prominent, and we're using the logo as the signature at the end in this case. So it's sort of it lets people know that this is the district and the village is behind it. Um, just a few different ways to structure these signs with regard to the base material. What is the main part of the sign, and then on each of these we're showing a human silhouette there on the right, just for a sense of scale. So these will be mostly viewed by people that are driving. So size is important. So these are probably about, 7-ish feet tall here. And, we would get, we'd narrow the size, working with the selected signage vendor. The next page shows how this concept could also hold some of the wayfinding aspects. Um, we're using these two as an example. Okay. And then the other direction, concept B, this one leans in a little bit deeper into that metal, on the left and the right, that sort of brownish color. Could be, like weathered metal, sort of a rust, a patina, with aluminum letters, that are extruded dimensional on top. In this case, we're using the forest logo at the top, but it's still smallish compared to the district name. So we want people to see the district, but also see the logo, um, second, to know that this is the village. This is the village's project. And second page here for concept B, wayfinding. This is an idea of how we could treat that directional information in a different way. Maybe the arrows are extend beyond the frame of main sign and are extra visible that way. These would all be, ideally lit either from the ground or perhaps some other way that we'll investigate with the signage fabricators. But these will obviously need to. You don't want them to just go dark and be absent during nighttime. So that will be part of this too. And now we can circle back and take your comments and questions.
Anybody have anything? For gateway signs, I personally like 1, 2, 3, the fourth one. With the brick, is that brick?
Yeah, it's like the a masonry, a stone,
Okay.
stone masonry that similar to what was used on the athletic complex.
Jan,
I like number 4 also. And I also liked where you showed down below that right there, the wayfinding and how that sign is within there, as opposed to the other ones that had the arrows sticking out of the edges. I do like this. That's all I got.
Jim,
I guess if you go back to the 5, I personally liked, I think it was 2 or 4. I like the dark wood with the white lettering on it. I can get behind 4 also. I did sort of like the protruding arrows, but what I didn't like about it is that I didn't really see it as arrows, where I thought it should have a white arrow in the protruding portion. But either way, I'm fine. The couple questions that I have is if you go back to the, say, existing signs of the forest, I noticed all of them seem to have, and sorry, I'm not looking at Windsor, I'm looking specifically at DeForest, but there's a very dark background on those, so I think it's nice that we're matching that. But they all have a bit of a swoosh on it. So I wonder if we want to incorporate like an arc on the top rather than just straight block. Like maybe if you use that sign number 4, maybe the light would be an arc above with the square of the dark. I don't know. Just something I was trying to bring unity through the signs. And the thing I was trying to pull up on my phone, I'm wondering if it would play into this at all, is that there's the Savannah Brooks, is it? They have a sign that's right in the district also, and I don't know what that looks like.
Are you talking about the Parade of Homes sign or?
The one on the corner of Hanover and whatever it is, Williamson. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't go to Street View on my phone, but that's all the comments I have. Again, I don't want to, I'm hoping that that can somewhat match in with the DeForest Yards field, being that it's in the same location. It's got the same dark background.
Close enough considering they're not that close together, probably, huh?
Yeah. Mhm. I don't know if we'd want to use that brick tone or if the gray was matching other brick tones in other buildings, but I guess the last comment that I thought of is looking at the locations. I'd say you have a gateway sign announcing, say, Peterson Crossing. I'm wondering if we would want a gateway or a smaller sign on the north side of Peterson Crossing, say just south of Bear Tree to sort of announce it in that direction.
Yeah, we thought about adding a sign on the north end there too. But one of the challenges was not knowing how the Presta Giacomo property was going to set up. So as you come in, the Presta Giacomo property is going to be on your right hand side. And then as you can imagine on the left hand side is Hooper and the current residential development, which uh, we wouldn't want to move the sign in the future. So we decided to leave that and have it a part of the development when that Presta Giacomo property develops in the future.
Brad,
I agree with the North 4 sign as well, but I really like the DeForest, Wisconsin emblem in the first one there. That's my only comment.
Okay, thank you.
anybody? I'm not a huge fan of that. Go ahead, Jim.
I'm just a little bit concerned about the sizing. Do you feel that's going to be large enough? To me, that seems a little bit small for a gateway sign traffic.
Yeah, I think that's something that uh, we will zero in on with the fabricator. Once we, know the exact locations, we'll meet with them to make sure that it is indeed right sized.
Okay. I do want to thank you. I think they're very nice looks and I like the simplicity of it. So hopefully help keep the dollars down too. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for your feedback, everyone.
We want to talk about Wayfair signs now, or I think we got almost unanimous on the gateway sign, don't we? Number 4.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing, that there's consensus on the fourth sign here. Some back and forth in regards to the villas of DeForest versus the DeForest, Wisconsin. I think at the staff level we talked about that too. I think Stacy has some comments on that. She's smiling at me.
Come on, Stacy. Comment.
Well, one of the things I mentioned was, we're not like at a border, we're not like Beloit, where we're between Wisconsin, Illinois, where you might not know where you are. We all know we're in Wisconsin, so I lean towards the village of DeForest. I think it sounds very prestigious, and I think it's a very unique area to our community, and it just adds an element to it.
So it's going to be the village of DeForest, not DeForest, Wisconsin. Go ahead, Jim.
What about the logo? I personally like our logo and how much we've sort of got accustomed to it.
That was another question I had with the logo, was how big it would actually be on the sign, and is it recognizable as people are driving by? Like looking at some of these, you really just see the oval. We know it's our logo because we live and breathe it every day. This is mostly going to be visitors to our community. Are they going to recognize that it's our logo, or are they, depending on what the size is and how fast they're driving by, or are they going to recognize that? So does it make more sense to say prominent village of DeForest so they recognize we're in DeForest, or is it seeing a circle emblem that they might not, connect the dots to? But open to anything. And
Jan.
I would agree. I think with the logo there, I agree with everything you said, Stacy. And then also to add, I think it's just a little too busy. And you want to keep it a little more simpler.
I think I'll just mention something. If we ever do rebrand and we have our logo there, then we have to change the sign out. So if it just says Village of DeForest, that's never going to change. So
That it? Do we want to talk about wayfinding?
Yeah, I think there was some conversation about the wayfinding. I think there's a little bit of consensus around this sign, but we just want to confirm that.
Drop down a little so we can see the arrows. Was this another option for?
This is the second option for the gateway sign. So this is the second option for the wayfinding.
Melanie?
For the wayfinding, I'll just echo Jan's comments from previously. I don't like the protruding arrows as much as the white. I think it looks cleaner and they're more obvious to me as direction arrows.
I can go along with that. Anybody else? No, you
Yeah,
don't
I
care about arrows?
agree.
I'm fine with that. I just want to bring up a question. The DeForest Yards district being dark on a medium background, is that concerning? I mean, should that be white? I think it was white in the gateway sign. Again, I'm good either way, but I just want to bring it up for discussion.
Yeah, I think that the depending on the final surface materials, you know, we would once we actually see the actual substrate, we'll know if it should be black or white. It will be, you know, ideally it will be lit so that you'd be able to see it no matter what. But yeah, we will of course pay close attention to readability because that would be a shame if you couldn't see it.
Okay, anybody else? Otherwise, I guess we like the arrows on the sign. Correct? Yes, unanimous. Good. And then the rest of the details will come in the design of the sign.
Does anybody else care about the swishiness?
About what?
Does anybody else care about having like an arc or the sort of swishiness that I was on the other signs? You're no swish?
I'm indifferent. I could go either way.
Yeah, I could go either way.
I don't care.
Okay, so
Not
we'll
gonna
leave
hold
it,
it up.
we'll leave it as is and go from there.
Let's do that. Okay. Thank you, John and Fletcher. Nice job.
So just
Thank you very much.
reminder for the group here. So we'll go ahead and prepare the specs and bids for this. We'll go ahead and issue the bids. And so the next time you'll see this is to accept the bids. And we do have a tight deadline here to accept the bids before the expenditure deadline of tax increment district number 7, which is that June 7th date. There's a number of projects that will be coming before you over the next 2 meetings that have to do with tax increment district 7 because of that deadline.
Okay, that it for you, Bill? Oh, Fran.
Sorry, I just had a question about that. I saw it's going to go to the papers. Is that a requirement?
Public bid, it's a requirement for.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, if that's it for signage, let's move on to department updates, administration update. Gil Chang.
Yeah, just quickly this morning, you should have received an email from me or an calendar invitation. I just want to make sure that you received it for the groundbreaking of the fire station number 2 next Monday at 10:30. Please let me know if you intend to attend, and we can post a possible quorum if necessary.
Okay. Finance update, Brandon.
Thank you much. I just wanted to make sure I introduced myself formally again. I'm Brandon. I'm officially the finance director here. I was at a couple board meetings before, but I'm officially in. Also just wanted to make sure I extended the invite to you all to either if you wanted to schedule a one-on-one with me or a little bit of time to catch up or talk at all, I'd be more than happy to do anything of that. Just a few things within the budget or within the finance world too. We have started discussions on the 2027 budget season. More internally and just what the timeline is going to be within here. We're going to shoot for a goal to have a timeline schedule presented to the board here in early June. So you all just get the chance to weigh in on it, any suggestions or change or anything like that within the prior budget season and next season, we can accept that right away. The village, after that, we have just successfully submitted our annual PSC audit. That's Public Service Commission for the water utility. The biggest change this year on it was that the village was now classified as a Class AB utility. What that means is that through responsible growth, the village has now exceeded 4,000 connections onto the utility. So in the PSC world, they just want way more detail out of us. Instead of just operations, we had to split out exactly what every level of operation was within there and so forth. So through the responsible smart growth, we have exceeded that connections. So we're now Class AB. So just way more detailed reporting for further transparency within there. The last thing I just had is that our next financial report that we're going to be needing to submit here is the Wisconsin DOR Form C, it's called. It's just an annual report that needs to be submitted to the state of Wisconsin. The main purpose for that is for the state to review annual state aid payments to us. So we do it on time, we get more state aid and responsible state aid. If we're late with it, we have the potential to lose out on state aid. So that's going to be our next report. It's due May 15th, and we have a goal of trying to get it done this week.
Thank you. What's going on out there?
Is this storm coming or something going on at the fire department?
Whoa, freaky. Police Department update, Chief Olson.
Yeah, just wanted to reemphasize something we talked about earlier this year. We continue to have problems, and by problems, Lucy, I mean that it's still out in the community. The kids on these off-highway motorcycles. We did have one incident where an officer tried to literally pull over because they were driving on the street. They fled from the officer, and the problem is when they flee, they fled onto the trail system, which then puts anybody on the trail system at risk because they're hitting that thing at 30, 35 miles an hour. Through good police work, the officer found out who it was, referred felony charges against the youth, the juvenile, to the children's center for fleeing and eluding an officer. So it wasn't the first time that person had been stopped. The father was also cited for permitting an unauthorized person to drive a motor vehicle. So we continue to see the issue. I mean, I can't go anywhere in the community and I get somebody to stop me and ask me about them. We're still working to try to message it. Stacy's put some really good stuff together for us to put on social media. We continue to work on it, emphasize it through the school to try to get families, kids, parents to realize these are not street worthy vehicles. And before, hopefully, it never happens that somebody gets injured or killed riding one of them because they don't pay attention to the traffic laws. They just dart into traffic from everywhere. And I just fear somebody is going to get seriously injured. And we're trying to do everything we can to avoid that. So just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Jan.
Can you tell me what date did this particular incident happen?
It was within, I believe it was within the last 2 weeks.
Oh, okay, because I live on Western Green. I'm back there every day, and there still are quite a few of them out there. And there are some real fast, crazy drivers. And they've got their helmets on, but the rest of us aren't sure. So I was just wondering if it was in the last couple days, because I've been seeing them back there quite a bit.
It was within the past few weeks, I believe.
Okay, I know that there's about, I can say 6 different regular drivers out there. A lot of double riding going on, and then they're going up onto the streets and so forth. So appreciate your work on it.
Public service update, Judd. Oops, I'm sorry, Jim.
I was just gonna ask if your marketing could also include the single tires. Do you know what I mean? There's almost
The one wheelers, yeah.
Yeah.
I can talk with Stacy about that later about stuff to put on social media.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Public service update, Judd.
I got stuff and Greg's got stuff. So just thank the board for allowing us. Callie touched on it, I think, the last time her going to a conference. We were able to go to the APWA Wisconsin chapter conference in Brookfield 2 weeks ago. And then last week we were at the APWA North American Snow Conference. So Greg, I, and Nate, who's our streets foreman, got to go. It's a great opportunity for to learn about how things are done just like we do or better in other communities throughout the country at the APWA Snow Conference. There's a lot of good classes we're able to take from AI, best practices, leadership, recognition, how to, appropriately recognize your team. And then the state conference is always great as well, the spring conference. It gives us an opportunity to meet and talk with our fellow folks who are in our community, or in the state even. So we were able to connect with Dane County, the highway commissioners, and had good conversations with him. So there's more stuff to come. So a lot of these things we'll be bringing forward that we like to implement in the coming year or so as we flush things out and see what the best practice we want to do. But again, thank you for giving us that opportunity to learn and grow.
You're welcome.
And then I just have a couple things. We're finally back to somewhat normal public works jobs, rather than picking up 319 truckloads of brush, plus 5 or 6 loads of wood chip, from shipping. So the guys did a great job, and they're really tired of brush. So we're moving on, and hopefully we don't get any more storms. Just wanted to provide you that number. That's a huge number of lot of brush. And then so we took down the dragons off the library last year because they were deteriorating and falling apart. So I've been on a mission to try to figure out who can build these for us. Found 3 vendors, and actually the vendor that we're going to go with, that she's a library maker, Jenny Bonnick. This is her template that she made just to kind of show off what it's going to look very similar. This is made out of oak. She's going to make it out of PVC plastic. So it's going to last for a very long time. The paint will last. She spent a lot of time just trying to figure out how to make these things so they last. She's amazing artist. And then she's talked to people from Norway of where these originated from, the designs. So she's got a lot invested into this, and I just wanted to share her talent, and that we're gonna go with her on making these, and hopefully by, I'm gonna say, September, October, we'll have them back up and looking great. So
What is her name again, Greg?
Jenny Bonnick. She's a library maker. So
Nice
Yep.
job. Thank you. Administrative services update, Kelly. Oops, I'm sorry. Community development, Alex. Oh, perfect. Administrative services, Kelly. We are in the tail end of liquor and cigarette license renewal period. So far this year, we've brought in 124 applications for new or renewals for operators. We have 19 liquor applications and 11 cigarette, tobacco, and vaping license. And so Joelle has been working very diligently to assist all of our licensees on getting that paperwork into us in a timely fashion. So that's all I have. Thank you. Recreation and community enrichment, Reese and your associate.
Yes, I thought I would bring a special guest on with me for my update tonight. You guys should have all received an email from Sam with the apparel order. Those are due by May 17th. So if you want to get one in, just make sure you do it by then. Otherwise, our next one probably won't be until towards the end of the year. It's hard for us to open up them in between. And then Trisha wanted to share that we did receive 2 grants for the farmers market this year, so each for $1,000. So that will be nice. And I don't remember if I shared, but we do have a new farmers market manager that started today with Trisha working on stuff, and is excited to get the market going the first Tuesday in June. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Communications update, Stacy Harmon.
I'll just share, this past week, we've onboarded our communication coordinator, Deepti. She's doing a great job. We've been busy working on summer events, working on branding and marketing, getting all the Facebook, social media calendars and everything updated and branded. And then I've been working with Alex on launching the Home Reach project, right? Is that what, Home Reach DeForest project, which will be coming out on Engage DeForest soon. So that will be announced by him. And that's about it.
Okay. DeForest Windsor Fire and EMS update. I do not see Chief LaFever in person or on Zoom. So we'll pass on that. Any other business that lawfully comes before the committee for discussion only? You want to be president, Greg?
Yeah.
Last thing on the agenda is adjournment. Is there a
Motion to adjourn?
motion by Jim? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. We are adjourned at 6 p.m.
Justin?
Yes, please take a 5-minute break. Okay, it is 6:06 p.m. Let's call to order the regular village board meeting for May 5th. Callie, would you please note roll? Recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. Brad, would you like to lead us, please? Thank you. Number 4, announcements. I have no announcements. Number 5, consent agenda. Approval of the minutes from April 21st. Work session and village board meeting. Does anyone need anything separated out? We don't. So, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Jan, seconded by Brad to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Public appearances.
These are the gentlemen with the handheld radio. They can either do their presentation while they're during their proclamation or during public hearing.
Oh, 9.2. Okay. Well, for public appearances, let's hear from the gentleman whose handwriting I wish I could read regarding the amateur radio weekend. Steve? What's your last name, Steve? You Barsty. Okay. Have a seat. For the record, if you would state your name and address, please, and push the button to get the mic to turn green, and you're ready to go.
Okay, green we have. My name is W9GZO. This is my call sign, but I'm also Steve Uvarasi. I'm 4918 Academy Drive in Madison, and I'm glad to be here. And we're spending a lot of time in this area in planning for a field day. And amateur radio operators aren't just geeks who talk to each other from their basements. They're also doing a lot of public service work. And part of that is providing support for the government in the case of a national emergency. I mean, our group was very active in the recent Skywarn and the storms and things like that. But once a year, we get together and we set up an emergency command center in a park somewhere where it's all run off emergency power for 24 hours. So, it's put up our own antennas, set up the radios, the whole 9 yards. And we move around and do it in different places. Last year we were at Verona at Badger Prairie County Park. This year we have chosen Schumacher Farm Park, which we have never been to before, but I'll tell you what, it's up on a hill. That's wonderful for us. Good communications capabilities. But we're going to make, for us, it's not just our event. It's a chance for us to communicate. It's also for public awareness. It's for people to understand about emergency communications, what options are open to you, how you can get involved and things like that. And so we're going to have people from Skywarn, from the radio, the weather people going to be there. The EMS people from Wanakee are talking about coming. So we've got a whole range of people coming. And it's a one time a year when amateur radio operators all over the country get online and do something like this and try and connect with the public and say emergency preparedness is something we don't think about, but it's something we should consider. So let's give you a little taste of it. And we're also going to have a get on the air station. Say, bring your kids out. If they want to get on the air, talk to somebody, we'll give them an opportunity. Is there any questions?
We're kind of limited as to questions at this point, but
Okay,
go ahead,
fine.
Jan, you can do one clarifying.
Well, first of all, I wanted to say I find this very interesting, and I thank you for doing the emergency preparedness, something beyond what we normally use in our everyday communications that most of us are using. Anyways, I did have a question, like about how many are there of you in Dane County?
That's a good question. Nationally, there's about 750,000 licensed radio amateurs. Not all of them are active, but I would say in the Dane County area, our club and a couple clubs I belong to represent 100 or so. But that's actually a small number of people who are here. There's a lot of other amateur radio guys because it's very diverse. They do a lot of different things, everything from mesh networks and ways to eliminate texting and do it by radio. But there's so many different people, and we represent kind of the general club of general interest. There's 2-meter repeaters. There's all kinds of things. So I would say there's hundreds. If I look at the roles of who's around, there's several hundred, but the activity is probably 100 or 2 at the most.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Number 7, presentations. Presentation of Resolution 2026-049. A resolution thanking Jane Cahill Wolfgram for her dedicated service to the village of DeForest. Did you wish to say anything, Kelly?
Nothing but thank you, Jane, for your service. And Colleen has your resolution she will be reading.
Guess we need a motion first. No? Okay, what we have here is a resolution thanking Jane Cahill Wolfgram for her dedicated service to the village of DeForest. Jane, you want to come up while I read it, or you want to wait until I'm done? Okay. Whereas the village board recognizes the hard work, commitment, and exemplary service Jane Cahill Wolfgram has offered to the village of DeForest as a member of the village of DeForest board, serving first as trustee and then as village president. And whereas village trustees and staff recognize and appreciate Mrs. Cahill Wolfgram's dedication, leadership, and service to the residents of DeForest. And whereas while serving with distinction, Mrs. Cahill Wolfgram has been an integral part of the village's continued growth and success, including the attraction and retention of important businesses and employers and expansion of commercial and industrial opportunities. And whereas during her tenure, the village experienced continued investment in parks, trails, and recreational amenities, including improvements to Fireman's Park and the expansion of community facilities that enhance the quality of life for residents. And whereas Mrs. Cahill Wolfgram supported housing initiatives to meet the needs of current and future residents, including single-family, multifamily, senior, and workforce housing opportunities, as well as programs to assist home ownership, home repairs, and neighborhood improvements. And whereas throughout her service, Mrs. Cahill Wolfgram demonstrated perseverance, thoughtful leadership, and a deep commitment to the village she has called home for many years. And whereas the Village of DeForest Board wishes to express its sincere appreciation to Jane Cahill Wolfgram for her dedication and for the service she provided to the residents of the community. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of DeForest Board of Trustees, on its own behalf and on behalf of the staff and residents of the village of DeForest, thanks Jane Cahill Wolfgram for her exemplary service to the village and presents this resolution, adopted at a regular meeting of the DeForest Village Board this 5th day of May, 2026. Jane, why don't you come on up here?
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
Motion by Brad, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Melanie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I just wanted to say I was involved with a partnership here that made it possible for us to accomplish the things that are in the resolution. We have one of the most talented staff, led by an administrator that we need to hold on to because he is extremely good. Al has kept me honest and kept me out of trouble more than one could believe. I had to look at him. I had to be able to see his eyes during every meeting, and I appreciated him being there when I had questions, but also a partnership with the community and residents. So it isn't just one person, it's all of the trustees, all of the staff, and the residents who are making DeForest a remarkable community. So thank you, everyone, for working with me.
And next up under presentation, 7.2, presentation of resolution 2026-050, a resolution thanking Tishidra Allen for her dedicated service to the village of DeForest. You want to say something, Kelly?
Thank you, Tishidra. I know you're here. There you are.
I can't see her. There you are.
And Colleen will read your resolution for you.
This is resolution 2026-050, thanking Tishidra Allen for her dedicated service to the village of DeForest. Whereas the Village of DeForest Board, on behalf of the DeForest community, recognizes trustee Tishidra Allen for her service from April 2024 through April 2026 to the residents of the Village of DeForest. And whereas the Village Board wishes to sincerely thank trustee Allen for her contributions to the community and her interest in the betterment of DeForest. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of DeForest Board of Trustees, employees, and residents thank Tishidra Allen for her commitment to the Village of DeForest. Adopted at a regular meeting of the DeForest Village Board this 5th day of May, 2026. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve that resolution.
Motion by Jim, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed,
Aye.
no. Motion carries unanimously. Tishidra, would you like to come forth, please? Guys?
Cedra Allen, resident of Forest. I first wanted to say thank you so very much for giving me an opportunity to serve with such amazing individuals and staff. You guys are incredible. You keep us on our toes, you keep us prepared, you keep us informed. And so I am incredibly humbled. To the community, I am so proud of you. I'm so proud of you for showing up, using your voice, bringing each other along, lifting each other up. And my hope, my goal, my dream, and my deepest wish and desire is that you continue to work together as a family, continue to show the rest of Wisconsin and all of the US and across the seas how to be a loving, kind, effective, and caring community. Whether we agree or disagree, we are always family.
And next is 7.3, presentation of resolution 2026-051, proclaiming June 27th through 28th, 2026 as amateur radio weekend within the village of DeForest.
Motion to accept resolution 2026-051.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brad. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Let me just, this is a little bit long. Whereas amateur radio operators are celebrating over a century of the miracle of the human voice broadcast over the airwaves, and amateur radio has continued to provide a bridge between peoples, societies, and countries by creating friendships and the sharing of ideas. And whereas amateur radio operators have provided countless hours of community service, both in emergencies and to other local organizations throughout these decades. And whereas these amateur radio services are provided wholly uncompensated, and whereas the Village of DeForest recognizes the services amateur radio's people also provide to our many emergency response organizations, including Amateur Radio Emergency Services, Wisconsin Emergency Management, and Dane County Emergency Operations Center. And whereas these same individuals have demonstrated their value in public assistance by providing free radio communications for local parades, bicycle events, walkathons, fairs, and other charitable public events. And whereas the Village of DeForest, Wisconsin recognizes and appreciates the diligence of these hams who also serve as weather spotters in the Skywarn program of the National Weather Service. And whereas the American Radio Relay League, ARRL, is the National Association for Amateur Radio in the USA. And whereas the ARRL Amateur Radio Field Day exercise is a 24-hour emergency preparedness exercise and demonstration of the radio amateur's skills and readiness to provide self-supporting communications without further infrastructure being required. And whereas the Four Lakes Amateur Radio Club of Dane County will host the field day exercise at Schumacher Farm County Park on June 27 and 28, 2026. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of DeForest Board of Trustees do hereby officially recognize and designate June 27th and 28th, 2026 as Amateur Radio Weekend in the Village of DeForest, adopted this 5th day of May, 2026. I'm sorry, I don't have a framed one. Next up on presentations, 7.4, presentation of Snow and Ice Control Award and update regarding Madison Metropolitan Sewage District. This will be done by Mr. Eric Dundee.
Thank you. Eric Dundee. I'm actually here for two topics tonight. One is I serve as the executive director for the Madison Metropolitan Sewage District. But the second is, as a past president of the APWA, American Public Works Association, Wisconsin chapter, I'm here to congratulate those that do the work that some of us don't think about all the time. So what I would like to do is just recognize the Village of DeForest and their Public Works Department for the Excellence in Snow and Ice Control Award. That award was received actually by village staff, which was very supportive and a good thing a couple weeks ago. And one of the highlights is to recognize that this group in the Village of DeForest is a leader for the state of Wisconsin and nationally for their snow and ice excellence. What they do is they balance and demonstrate best practices in winter maintenance while minimizing environmental impacts. If we think about this, and I'll actually talk about this as a sewage plant, we try to maintain contaminants. Salt is a contaminant, but we need it for safety. So we have to balance those things. So one of the things in the application and nomination form that the village had for this award, I just want to read a few of those and recognize them. The Village of DeForest investments, including in the leadership and the village board support for snowplows with ground speed control dispensing, which means you only put down as much salt as you need to keep roads safe, doing pre-wetting brine to reduce salt and to increase effectiveness, completing in-house and external staff training programs, community outreach, and even investing in monitoring devices. The group here is a leader, and I would like to recognize them for that. So on behalf of the American Public Works Association Wisconsin chapter, I'd like to give them the award again in front of their peers and their village board. So I want to.
Judd Blau and Greg Hall, would you like to join Mr. Dundee? Good job, guys. You must have a part 2 to your presentation.
You have a part 2. This works out great. So my second job here tonight is as executive director of the Madison Metropolitan Sewage District. So this is an opportunity for me to just provide an update to the village board and the community of DeForest on what is going on in the treatment plant service area. DeForest is one of those. So as we move forward, just a little background, the Madison Metropolitan Sewage District was established in 1930. It has grown to 24 customer communities. You can see DeForest at the top of the chain. So everything that goes down the drain in DeForest goes all the way down to Southtown Boulevard in Monona, down by the Super Walmart. That's what we like to explain. So we serve about 440,000 residents of the population, and that includes all the businesses and industries in that area. We collect about 38 million gallons of water a day. So if you can think of Camp Randall Stadium, fill up the bowl every day, we clean it and send it away and get the next bowl the next day. And to just explain how the sewage is collected, basically, if you think of your house, anything that goes down the drain, this is in your sink, this is in your toilet, this is in your basement drain. This could be in a apartment complex, the underground parking. State of Wisconsin business building code and plumbing code is if there is a underground parking in a large residential building, it goes down the drain to the sewer. So all of those things, including businesses and industry, goes through pipes into village-owned pipes that then are collected in Madison Metropolitan Sewage District pipes. Those larger pipes we collect and we actually pump that to the treatment plant, and then we clean it and pump it away. And one of the things we like to explain to people is we are 1%ers. This is an informal thing we talk about, but 99% of the water that comes to the treatment plant is just that, water. We spend our time, money, and energy on the 1%. All the contaminants, all the things that are flushed, we have to either take them out or we have to treat them and to our permit level. And then it turns into what we call as effluent, basically cleaned wastewater. It goes to a stream. We actually pump all of this to Badfish Creek, about 7 miles south of Madison, and it is considered stream quality. It is also something that we're proud of because we just actually won with the DNR Lab of the Year. So we were able to get that recognition for all the testing that we do on that. That ranges everything from our parameters, which is the solids, nitrogen, phosphorus, chlorides that are in there, all the way to we are already advanced in year 4 and 5 of our PFAS sampling. So we are trying to be proactive and learn about these things as we go. And one thing I had took over in this position about 15 months ago, and one of the things that we need to do as a sewage district is make sure that we are watching out for our communities. The last thing we want to do is not be proactive with infrastructure renewal, and we come to communities and tell them you have to stop developing. That happens around the United States. There are areas that cannot develop because they do not have the infrastructure. My job here and my staff's job is to make sure that all communities that we serve, all 24 of them, can grow the way they want to. That means businesses, that means infill, that means different community developments, all of that. That's what we're trying to do, is serve you in that way. So a few things that I just wanted to highlight today is a few of the projects that we're undertaking that are things that we hope are helping the community as a whole. And when I say community as a whole, I mean nationwide. What we are trying to do is be innovative by saving money and taking care of the things we have to take care of. One of that is force mains. So we have pipes that are pressurized. We're basically pushing water through those uphill to gravity mains and then getting to the treatment plant. We have now found out in the last 5 years the hard truth of building a lot of infrastructure with the Clean Water Act in the 50s and 60s, and it is now all aging to the point where it's failing. So in the last 5 years, we have had 5 force main breaks. For us, this is not a small 4-inch pipe or 6-inch pipe force main break that may spill 1,000 gallons of sewage. This is in the millions. Our last one was 6 million gallons, and we had that turned off within 5 hours of when we found it. So for us, this is significant. This is an environmental impact. So what we are doing is trying to be innovative and trying to assess these pipes. If you know about public works and utility work about TV and clean and lining sewers, basically what you're trying to do is not dig it up. You're trying to assess the condition while it's below ground and then either put a liner in it. Basically think of putting a coating on the inside to structurally renew that pipe. Our problem is with force mains, there's no access points. Some of these pipes are 5-6 miles long without an access point. So right now we are actually testing solutions that is signals, and I could look behind me and say radio signals, but it's also sonar and different things like that to test wall thickness, to test if there's voids in the pipe, all those things. So that's one thing we're investing in. One thing you'll hear about if you pay attention to our budget in 2027 is beyond is we have to get a handle on this. These are environmental impacts that we want to pay attention to. And then we're going to talk about the treatment plant. So we are growing in a way that we have a new WPDS permit. So basically the treatment plan is regulated by a permit and how much we're supposed to treat. At the treatment plant, we can only treat so many things. Chloride, which is salt, is one that we cannot treat, or at least treat effectively and with a good cost. Basically what we're saying is if we tried to treat the salt that is in the water, we are talking about reverse osmosis system, and we are talking hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to get to that. So one thing we are talking to communities about now is chloride reductions, not just in road salts. A lot of people think about that. The next thing they think about is, well, wait a minute, you're putting it on the road. How does it get into a sewer? Well, it happens. Flooding, runoff, going into driveways, into drains, things like that. It's all coming to us in one way or the other. We just got our new permit and the permit limit is lower, which means at our current pace right now, we could violate our permit up to 5 or 10 times a year based on the new limit. So what we're going to be doing is engaging communities to figure out what else we can do. Being preventative saves hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So the goal here is, what can we do for that? Some of that is roads, some of that is home rebate programs for water softeners. We have heard stories of water softeners taking a 40-pound bag of salt every week. That's a lot of salt. We receive at the treatment plant 100,000 pounds of salt a day. We have to meet our permit. We have to get that number down. That is going to be difficult because one of the opportunities or ways to do that is enforcement. And enforcement for the sewer district means we enforce the Village of DeForest, and then they have to go enforce those things. So this is where I stop and pause and say, we are lucky to have a public services group here in DeForest that is engaged with us and helping us talk through these things, because we have to find a solution for all 24 customer communities. And that's ranging from customers that are 50 houses in a sanitary district up to the city of Madison. So one solution is not going to fit all, but our goal is to work on that. Oops. And of course, I hit the wrong button. And then one of the last things to talk about with everybody, I don't go anywhere without telling you, don't flush the things that aren't supposed to be flushed down the toilet. What we want to do is talk about non-flushables and fats, oils, and greases. So these things are flushable wipes. They are non-flushable. There is lawsuits in the United States about this. Just because it's advertised as flushable doesn't mean it doesn't cause problems later. Yes, it can go down the toilet or go down the drain. Lots of things can. But what happens is when they go into one of our pumps, we chew them up or they tear up and then they come back together and clog a pipe, or they cause problems in other places. You can find in the national news this kind of thing happening all over the place. For us, we do a lot of nighttime emergency work, calling in our mechanics and electricians and staff when a pump isn't working and we have to come in and pull that apart. That is a messy job. I will tell you that we can fill a 30-yard dumpster, which is about a quarter of this room, every other day with all the things that we pull out at the treatment plant of things that are flushed. So we are trying to make sure we educate everybody as best we can about prevention on that. And then also fats, oils, and greases, those things that can go down the drain that end up sticking in the pipes. It happens. Well, for us, 440,000 people putting a little bit of fats, oils, and greases in the drain turns into a really big problem by the time it gets to us. So we're talking about incremental change for people. Every little thing you do helps everybody in the long run. So with that, the last thing to talk about is infiltration and inflow. So I talked to you about 38 million gallons a day, so Camp Randall Stadium, filling that up. In wet weather events, or in a very large wet weather event, my record is 155 million gallons of water coming to the treatment plant at once. So instead of one Camp Randall Stadium, you're talking about 4. That creates a problem. One of the things DeForest is doing very well and proactively is working on I&I, basically stopping stormwater from getting into your sanitary sewers. What we did here is we made sure to provide our customer communities with that community outreach as needed. If you want to put it in a utility mailer, if you want to put it onto social media, you can go on our website and get the graphics, get anything you want to use for that. So that's just another note there. And then, of course, I would welcome you all to come take a tour. My joke is, if you're lucky enough, I'll give that tour. But otherwise, please come check it out. One of the unique things about Madison is not every community has a treatment plan. Regionalization is something the Department of Natural Resources recommends. It's cost effective. It makes everybody's life a little easier, I would say, by having one treatment plan in the area. So, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. That was very informative and interesting. Surprisingly enough. Jan.
I agree with Colleen. It was very informative and there was a lot of information there, and I thank you for that. You had mentioned that DeForest does well in a few different areas. And what my question is do you have a way or a mechanism to measure what's coming from each different community?
We do. So actually, that is part of our rate structure. So how we bill our customer communities is we split out the flow from each community or each area that goes through. DeForest being at the, what we call the top of the chain, it's actually very easy to measure yours. You do, though, have some complexities with DeForest being close with Windsor and boundaries, and then also the town of Vienna. So there is math involved there and making sure we have things separated, but that is how we bill, is basically by measuring the flow and then what we call the loadings or the things that are in the wastewater. Those are the two ways that we bill.
Thank you.
Jim.
I'm curious. So I'm an engineer, and I had a coworker that actually went to MMSD, the Milwaukee version. And I know when he went there, they were building like the deep tunnels. And I'm wondering if we have any of those problems with storage. I'm hoping we just don't have as much infiltration as they did in Milwaukee. Is that the answer, or is that something that we're looking into having more storage?
I will try to keep this brief because I love this topic. Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District has a unique system where they have what they call a combined system. So the old downtown Milwaukee proper area actually takes stormwater and wastewater. So their deep tunnel system is there for wet weather events. Basically, they are putting it into the deep tunnels to store it, and then they pump it out of 300-foot deep big tunnels, and then they treat it after that. For us, we actually have in Madison a little different problem. It is not about dealing with the wet weather in the way of it getting to the plant. We actually have to get it away. And because we only have one pipe to get it away, we're unique as we have 100% of the flow pumped to us, 100% pumped away. For us, with our pumps, if we turned all of our pumps on at 100%, we would actually explode the lines. So if you come around the treatment plant, you'll see lagoons, its birding area, its habitat. That's actually a storage area for us to store treated wastewater or effluent. We store it, wait till the flows go down, and then we pump that away.
Anybody else? Thank you, Eric. 7.5, presentation regarding a funding request from Kent Paulson of Nungasser Development to the Home Reach DeForest Affordable Housing Program. Alex?
Yeah, I'll just do a brief overview here and then turn it over to Kent to talk about his request and his project, and then open it up for any questions from trustees. So we officially approved the Home Reach DeForest Affordable Housing Program in April with an amendment at the last meeting. As Stacy had mentioned, we're hoping to get there's two separate funds of this program. One is for larger scale development. The other is for residents, home improvement, down payment assistance, those types of things. We're hoping to do the soft launch of the website for that second bucket this week, with applications opening to the general public on the 20th after the next board meeting. But with the program being officially approved, we've got 2 applications tonight for funding through the first part of the program, which is the development side. So the first application is from Kent with Nungesser Development. This is a project that is being proposed on Northtown Road. They have already gone through their approvals process with the village. It is a senior affordable housing building, and Kent can kind of tell you more. The amount of funding that they're requesting is $112,500. With that, I'll kick it over to Kent. And we should have, we've got the PDF of the concept plan online as well, if you want to orient around that.
As Alex said, Kent Paulson with Nungesser Development, talk about the Alice Place DeForest project, which is 50 units of affordable housing for seniors 55 and older. There will be 1 and 2 bedroom units. All of the units are income restricted and rent restricted at 30%, 50%, 60%, and 80%. The breakout of those are in I believe, first page there of that request. The project, it has a tax credit award from Wisconsin Housing. And so we are very close to getting this thing all done and expect to be under construction at least by July. Hoping we can actually be under construction come June. We have previously applied to the Federal Home Loan Bank, were denied. We applied for a housing trust fund from the state of Wisconsin, was denied on that. We applied for Dane County funds, denied on that one. So we've solved it thus far. The development team stepped up. The tax credit investor, in this case happens to be Wells Fargo Bank, stepped up with an increased pricing on the tax credit investment. And the construction lender, also Wells Fargo, and the perm lender, Mound City Bank, both banks also stepped up, reduced fees, interest rate, that kind of stuff. So we are very, the summary there, sources and uses, we're basically there. The request to the village here is $112,500. Without that, we will be looking to go back, do some additional work on what we can take out of the GC contract to balance the budget to make it work. As the development team, we're long-term owners, so in no way looking to take out the quality of anything. It's important to us for the quality of what's built, both for the benefit of the residents, but the long-term maintenance, everything else that goes into it. You start looking at windows, cabinetry, countertops, that kind of stuff. I mean, we can get there. We're fully committed to building this project. But we're asking the village for some help to get it across the finish line. The request is $2,250 per unit. This would put 50 units of affordable housing in play, with construction completed, expected to be by September of 2027. So September of next year, we would have 50 units in place to be able to house seniors, low-income seniors within the village. Happy to answer any questions, or if I was unclear of any of that.
Anyone have questions? Jan?
Okay, so are these rental units or are these life lease units?
They are rental units. I'm not sure what a life leased.
Where they would own it. they would own their
No,
unit?
they are all
rental
rental.
units.
It's the way the federal tax credit program is set up.
Okay, and so when it comes to the rents that you'll be charging, what prevents you from increasing the rents, say 5 years down the road, to something much higher?
The through the tax credits, closing and all of that, there is a LURA, land use restriction agreement, LURA, which sets the rents. So, for example, we have 11 units at 30% of area median income, and the rents for that are affordable to somebody who makes 30% of the area median income. So if, just for example, if area median income were $60,000, I mean, 30% of that obviously is $18,000. So it's a very low income, and the rent cannot be more than 30% of that. HUD does publish what the allowable rents are, and they update that annually. And there's the compliance process for these projects is verified annually. So if the development team decided, well, we're not collecting enough rent to pay the bills, and so we just decided to charge 1,000 where the allowable is 500, then you're out of compliance. Everything blows up. So developers don't do it because of the implications and the long-term, impact on the property. So everybody stays in compliance, and the compliance period is for a minimum of 30 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And apologize if that was way more lengthy.
No, that was good. That was a great answer. I needed to know that.
Brianna? Yeah.
So at the Planning and Zoning Commission, I believe, so I'm going by memory, we approved everything, but I thought there was also a bit of a discussion with the desired for improved aesthetics or maybe some additional landscaping. And the way I remember the committee is that we left it up to the applicant to work with staff, and I'm wondering if any of those things have been applied.
Yes, they have all been addressed. I've been working with Mark Roffers, and he's been reviewing through staff, but the landscape plan has been revised, enhanced, however you want to think about it. The aesthetics, there's balconies on the front of the building. There were some changes with the siding and brickwork. Those that come to mind right now. There's probably
Yeah, I know. So Mark has been working with the development team, mostly, as far as I understand it, mostly on the facade side, and they've got it to a point. This was probably a few weeks back where it needed to be.
Thanks for bringing that up. I remember that conversation.
Alicia has her hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alicia.
That's okay. I just had a quick question on the units for veterans. Are those also only for 55 plus, or is that open to just all veteran designation? How does that work?
The veteran designations are also 55 plus. We did not designate the AMI limits. AMI is area median income. Because if you get a veteran that comes in and they're at, say, 50% of AMI, we want to be able to provide a unit where if we pre-designated them and all of a sudden you don't have one in the right income category, then that you end up excluding somebody if they don't qualify otherwise. So and I apologize, I don't remember if there's 6 or 7 veteran units, but those are part of the project.
Okay, awesome. It says 6, so thank you for explaining that.
I did have another question. So it's a 50-unit building and there are 32 garage spaces. How do you go about determining who gets those garage spaces?
It would be on a first come, first serve. With the garages, there is a small monthly charge. And so since it's an affordable building, not everybody will want one. So that's most of the buildings like this that get built don't have any garages. So this is actually a fairly significant an amenity for the people here who can afford the additional part as part of that rent.
Okay, great amenity because we live in Wisconsin and those winters can be cold. Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Paulson.
Okay.
Seven point six, presentation regarding a funding request from Habitat for Humanity of Dane County to the Home Reach to Forest Affordable Housing Program. Alex.
Similarly, second application through that first development fund, Hillary Parker and her team are here from Habitat to talk about their proposal. As outlined in the memo, this is a request of $315,000 in grant funding with a proposed development of the Home Education Center. I did note in the memo, but perhaps the applicant can speak to this as well in terms of status, that at the time of writing, to my knowledge, the property was not under contract. However, I know they've had some active discussions. So, and again, just to reiterate, these are more presentation, question and answer, and then we'll have a second discussion later in the agenda as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to her team.
We have two ladies here who appear to be from Habitat for Humanity. Could you please identify yourselves?
Hi, I'm Gabriella Gerhardt. I'm the Vice President of Development for Habitat for Humanity of Dane County. And I'm Hillary Parker. I'm the CEO.
Thanks.
So, Callie, I also included, there should have been a PowerPoint there too. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for having us here tonight. We're really honored to be considered by the Village of DeForest for this funding. As I mentioned, I'm Gabriella Gerhardt, Hillary Parker, and we also have Brad Armstrong here, our new COO, who leads the construction team, in case you have any additional questions. We can go to the next slide. Or we have to scroll, I think. All right, so Habitat, our vision is a place where everyone has a decent place to live. That's what we really want, a world in that looks like that. And so we bring people together to build homes, communities, and hope. And volunteering is a huge part of our mission. It's probably what we're most known for, and that's a huge part of what we do. We can move on.
Can you pull the mic just a little closer, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Usually I'm quite too quiet, so it's good to know. So Habitat Dane, we have been operating since 1987, so nearly 40 years of impact. We build affordable, energy efficient homes for low to moderate income families. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And we're really about wealth building for these families. We want them to build equity. We want these homes to be sustainable. And we want those families to be sustainable in the community. They're building stability, both for the family and for the community is really at the heart of what we do. So we have multiple core programs. We're mostly going to talk about home building today. That's our original and most well-known program. We've built 365 homes and sold them throughout Dane County. Habitat Home Repair is a newer program. We've done 62 repairs since 2015. We also have a financial capability training that we offer for those that cannot be part of the Habitat program but want to move towards homeownership, 71 graduates in recent years. And then we also operate 2 Restore thrift stores that help support our mission. And the Restores run a furniture bank, which is kind of like a food bank for furniture. We serve all of Dane County. We've built in over 18 communities. DeForest, this would be our first home in the Village of DeForest. With you joining the Urban County Consortium, we can now use Dane County CDBG funds in the village, which is why we're looking to move into DeForest. I'm very excited about it. So our home building program, we build and sell homes to partner families that make 30 to 80% of Dane County area median income. Our average AMI is 41% as of last year. Homes are financed with a no to low interest mortgages. And importantly, the payments are capped at 30% of gross income, and that is inclusive of home insurance, property taxes, and HOA fees when we calculate the payment. And that payment is really important. We're only able to do that because we leverage down payment assistance and sometimes financial donations to Habitat in order to make that financial picture work. So low to moderate income families have a lot of challenges. Two primary ones. The first is availability. The average selling price, when we put this together, was 431,000, but actually there was new reporting that it's over $500,000 in Dane County now. And then there's just very few older homes available in that affordable range. So we increase availability by building the homes. And then financing is also a huge barrier. So homeowners aren't always eligible for market rate loans from a bank. They have a high monthly payment that's unaffordable. And sometimes the down payment, the upfront cost can be a barrier. And we solve that problem by actually financing the mortgages ourselves. So what makes Habitat distinct? We are a homeownership nonprofit. And as I mentioned, we want those homes to be wealth building and equity building for the working families that live in them. And by working families, I mean healthcare workers, firefighters, post office, postmen. Those are a couple of the recent ones that I've looked at their stories. It's people that are working in the community and working very hard and really want homeownership, but it's just out of reach. We serve both as a builder and a lender, and as I mentioned, that's to solve both of the problems that face LMI families in the region. We cap those payments at less than 30% of the income, which I said we have to leverage a lot of sources, many of which we can leverage as a nonprofit, so we can have that ability to do that for the families. And then we also have a really extensive homeowner education program, which is part of the sweat equity hours that the families put in, and that leads to successful homeownership. They do a lot of education, and they're ready when they get the keys to be successful long term, and that's what we see. Just a couple of examples of housing styles that we built in the past, so you get a sense. Happy to show you more pictures if you're ever interested. Recent homes that we've built have appraised between 280 and 290. These are modest homes. These are not have all the high end bells and whistles. Some people might call them a starter home, but they're beautiful homes. They are sized to the family's actual needs, and so are much smaller than what you'd see from a market rate builder. We've become land developers in recent years by necessity. Land is just becoming more scarce, and undeveloped land is the land that's available in a lot of cases. So a couple of examples, recent cases. Kai Court is a cul-de-sac in downtown Oregon, which is on the left side there. We just wrapped that up last year. Private road, private stormwater facility, relatively small one. But we have a very big development called Town Hall Crossing in Sun Prairie. 118 lots, mixed income neighborhood. So about 40% in the end will be Habitat units. And phase 1 is currently wrapping up. Phase 2 infrastructure is under contract and will be underway very soon. And then we have 2 more phases after that as well. And in case you're interested in seeing what one of our developments look like, Town Hall Crossing in Sun Prairie, we are having an open house on May 28th. The public is welcome. We'd love if you'd register and let us know you're coming, but you can also just show up on the day, have some Kona ice, hear from Hillary, hear from a family, importantly, and then also get to tour up to 3 of our homes and also drive on the streets that we've built and all that infrastructure that we put together. So going into the DeForest project. So this is the Holum Center property, and this is the initial conceptual design. We haven't moved past this point because we need to get farther along with the property acquisition before we would do that. But you can see the initial design has twin homes and small rows of townhomes in order to achieve 36 units. We anticipate that this could change. Maybe some single family homes would be on the table in the end, but this is kind of what our early conceptual design looked like that we thought could work for the property. But and we can go to the next slide. So what would the impact to the community be? New affordable homes, again, with that lower price point than you would see at market rate. 36 families become first-time home buyers in DeForest. We really want there to be opportunities for the local workforce here to live where they work. And so we would do a lot of outreach within the village of DeForest itself to make sure that people know about the program. And we'd also love to work with the school district, given that this is a school district property, to potentially have school district employees have additional consideration in the application process so that they'll be more likely to get one of these homes. And then long-term affordability, as I mentioned, is guaranteed by Habitat. And partner family support is key to, in our opinion, to creating successful homeowners in the long run. So our total projected cost for the 36 units is $16.35 million. The request is for $315,000 from the DeForest Affordable Housing Fund. Other sources of funding, we hope to get specific funding for site prep, infrastructure, and remediation of the site, including demolition. We'd look at the Wisconsin Economic Development, WEDA, WEDC, other locations, other organizations that we can apply to, maybe the Federal Home Loan Bank to make that funding picture work. Dane County has given us money for land acquisition, which we will use to buy that property. That's the last quote that I had when I put this together. And we are currently in discussion about buying the property. I have an offer on the table, but nothing is signed at this point. We also leverage a lot of money from our restore revenue and then also monetary donations to the community. That's individuals, corporations, and foundations. We have thousands of annual donors that contribute and make it possible. And then we also sell those mortgages as an opportunity. We have a banking partner, Lake Ridge Bank, that buys our mortgages, and we continue to service them. But we also leverage down payment assistance to make that financial picture work, which is obviously a huge piece of the picture. Go next. So we are in progress with land acquisition. We anticipate that the site work could begin as soon as spring 2027, with home building beginning the next year. Usually takes about a year for us to get underway with the infrastructure. And then families would start closing on homes fall, winter of 2028. And then we would expect the project to be completed in 2035. We would kind of build the homes on a rolling basis. It wouldn't all happen at once necessarily, but again, some of the planning has to unfold as this moves forward. We can't say exactly, but this is what we anticipate. We're confident we could complete the project in its entirety by 2035 or earlier. And then just a last note about Habitat. We have a track record of nearly 40 years of affordable home building. We build owner-occupied housing, and that's a core part of our model. Again, 30 to 80% of AMI, that's our low to moderate income families. Mentioned we would be interested in developing a program with school employees, so that's uncertain at this point, but we are working on that, or we will work on that. And then just the last point about this is really about the long-term impact. We want people, a lot of our Habitat families, they stay in these homes. A lot of our homeowners, the original ones from 1987, are still living in their homes because they want that stability for themselves. They want that stability for their kids. They want their children to be able to focus on school and friends and not have to worry about living paycheck to paycheck, about moving school districts every year, trying to stay ahead of rising rents. I was just speaking this morning with Tina, who's a homeowner that's been in her home for over 10 years, and her daughter dreamed of being a lawyer since she was a little kid, but faced all the stresses of those rising rents and living paycheck to paycheck. And they moved into their Habitat home, and her daughter thrived in high school, graduated, went to law school, graduated, and is now working as a lawyer in DC. And she's just like beams with pride and said, my daughter had so much potential, and Habitat made it possible for her. She made her like the ability for her for the flower and blossom. And that's what a lot of our homeowners talk about. They want that stability. They want that place to live. And that's what we are excited to offer at the Village of DeForest in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Looks like Brad has a question.
Yeah, I got two questions. How do you choose who gets to select one of these homes or gets to move in there? And then why, or do you select them before they build and they have an input, or why the 8-year time span?
Good question. Do you want to tackle this? You want me to? Yeah. So we have a whole community services department that runs our application process. It starts with an information session where people come and find out about it, because the application is more than just I want a home. It's actually a mortgage application, because at the end of the day, they're buying the home. So the information session to make sure that they're interested, that they qualify, and then if they want to move on to the application session, they submit a full application. Last year we had, I believe, over 80 applications, which was a record for us. We usually have about a little over 150 folks in the information sessions, and then narrow it down. And then for this most recent cohort, we narrowed that down to a pool of 10. Some people for 10 homes. Yeah, we narrowed it down to 10 families. Yeah. And so in terms of how we choose the families, we've done it different ways in different years, but we definitely would be advertising these as Village of DeForest homes to families. And we want to get families in homes as fast as possible. So the development timeline all depends on the funding schedule and also the ability of us to be able to build the homes. We're looking at innovative things like modular housing, like working with other builders to help support us that could potentially speed up the timeline. But that those family outreach is important. And the homes often are built after the families are selected, but sometimes it's happening a little bit in concert and happening at the same time. But those home sizes vary depending on the size of the family. So a family of 3 is going to have a much smaller home than a family of 7. And we do have that variability.
Brad, sorry, Trustee Cords, were you asking about the criteria for the families?
No, I think she answered what I was looking for. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Jim.
Well, I'll say I have a number of concerns with your layout because I think that site is rather challenging. So I think you'll work your way through that. It seems like there's enough money in there, but that may grow too. So that's a concern of mine. But before not really diving into that, because I'm sure you will as you work your way through this, the one question that I do have for you is you talked about a 30% cap in income. And then you also noticed or said that the property taxes are in that 30%. And that just brought questions up to me is like, how does that work? Because you guys are a nonprofit. So I'm assuming do you own the land and it really, you don't maybe see property taxes until it actually gets transferred to the individuals? Can you explain some of that?
Sure, and it depends. But to answer your broader question about how do we make this work, first of all, we do think the 36 lots might be the tightest configuration we could possibly get out of that land. But we've done the math, and even at 26 lots, the maths. So for us, it's exciting to try to build as densely as possible. In terms of how do we make it work with what we know are, rising taxes and rising home insurance, payments, it's the whole reason we're here. It's the whole reason that Habitat exists, because you can't do this easily and make a profit. Otherwise, the for-profit people would be doing it. It's an investment in the community. And there's no better way to do it than to invest in communities, in those families, to go ahead and take charge of their futures, of their children's futures, and invest in those families. That way, you get people who live here, who work here, who care about here, who care about DeForest. When does the tax transfer? Was that your other question?
I'd say yes, because I guess from my point of view, I don't want it to be a tax burden on the individuals that's not part of the program. And then I'm not really even just talking about the village of DeForest, but also the school district and stuff like that too.
Yeah, so I think we typically will get a waiver as a nonprofit for 3 years for property taxes, and then beyond that, we do pay property taxes on any undeveloped land that we're building. And then upon the sale of the home, the homeowner will take over the property taxes. And with the calculation of that 30%, how it works is the initial calculation kind of establishes what their mortgage payment is, and then that never changes. Ever. We don't ever revisit that. That mortgage payment stays the same. Obviously, we cannot control property taxes, home insurance, or even HOA fees if that does apply. But that first mortgage payment stays the same throughout the mortgage. And then for many of our homeowners, the hope is that they build their wealth over time, that they increase their income, and that money can go towards savings and sometimes to cover those increased costs that happen. Does that help answer the question?
Yep, that does exactly. Thank you.
Alicia. Oh, Alicia.
Sorry, guys, I was on mute. Quick question. Just curious about if you could talk to more about like what the sweat equity portion of the application is, or just provide a little bit more detail, and then how you said it hasn't quite been worked out yet, but how you would prioritize employees who are in the district and also other like employees or people who are working here in DeForest.
Sure, thank you. That's a great question. Sweat equity is one of the things that we use in the habitat world where we like to say this is a hand up, not a hand out. And the reason that that's important is that we partner with our partner families to create these homes and to support habitat in general as we're creating these homes. So depending on the size of the family, depending on the number of adults in the family, our families work between 250 and 450. Is that correct?
425 is the
Thank you. God, be so good. 425 hours throughout their time in the program. And that sweat equity can be used in many ways. Sometimes they're building on a home. Sometimes it's their home. Sometimes it's a different person's home. Sometimes they're volunteering in one of our restores. Sometimes they come and give a presentation to the village of DeForest, although not this time, sorry. Sometimes they write, thank you notes to the folks who have taken their time to give to our program as a way of saying, you touched my life. So all of those things add up to those hours. What am I forgetting?
Oh, and the homeowner education program, every time that they spend doing homeowner education is part of their sweat equity.
Mm-hmm. And then the second part of that question, the school district. So one of the fun things about attempting to purchase land is that you have to talk through your brokers. So I can't just talk to the school district directly and say this, but I can say this here. And I have sent an email through the brokers. We would be very interested in anyone who qualifies for our program getting like that extra point, we would call it, so that people who are part of the school district do have a, right of first refusal, if you will. And we cannot do that if all 36 of them, come forward and there's more than 36, we would have to have some sort of a system. In my experience, that doesn't happen. But what I'm hoping is that this gives DeForest a chance to keep your workers close. With gas being what it is, I know that I like living close to where I work. So.
And I think some of it's education, making sure people know that they qualify for the program. I think a lot of working families, they might not realize that they qualify, especially if you have multiple children. The AMI does go up high, but obviously the buying power of that salary is relatively low. So I want to make sure that people know if they qualify so that they have that as an option. And then it probably would just be practically additional points on the scoring criteria because we do have to score applications to rank them. Again, that's up for debate, but we would love to see some school teachers living in these homes.
Jan?
First of all, I want to say I'm very familiar with Habitat for Humanity, and you do a lot of great work. I've known some families that live in your homes, and I understand the success stories about having families in these homes and raising kids there and the stability and so forth. But on the flip side of this, I'm looking at your proposal and I've got a lot of concerns.
Okay.
And I know this has come up in these village meetings before. I see a lot of row houses. And I have a big concern about that. In your nice little presentation, I didn't see one row house shown. I saw a couple duplexes, but no row houses. So I'm very curious, first of all, how is that going to work? Each individual family owns their little unit, no land? Or are there actual lot lines?
Okay. Let me just, and I appreciate those questions. That is perfect for a planning commission. And I would love to have that conversation down the line. The only reason that we put this design together at this point and are able to present it is that it's our maximum density, best wish idea. As you all know, there is a 42,000 square foot school on the land with some remediation, et cetera. We have a lot that we just don't know. What I would love is that we can put up single family homes and make it all work. which is why I asked them, the Veerbecker was working with us to design. I asked them to go ahead and make it as dense as they could to see, what would work, how many we think we could offer. But the truth is we are not committed to row houses or townhouses. We're committed to families in houses. So we're very flexible on that.
And that's good to hear, because best wishes for the village, I don't think are row houses. I see a lot of problems with them, not so much when they're brand new, but going down the road when they start needing work. How do you determine when that roof is going to be replaced? Are you going to have firewalls extending all the way up through the roofs? You will. So that they know where their roof line is and what they're responsible for? Will there be firewalls completely within these things? There's so many questions.
You're absolutely right. There are so many great questions. The answer is we are not committed to this design. And we have partners who are able to build these and have built these. But again, we would love to have the chance to put families in homes on this space. The design itself is very much preliminary.
Okay. Yeah. So I thank you on that. We'll have more discussion on row houses. You can definitely tell I'm very against it. I'm an insurance agent for 38 years.
It's tough.
Even in condos, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And not so much when the buildings are new, but when there's some sort of natural disaster or these buildings start getting older and there's a problem, it can be a big problem.
I would love to learn more about that from you. And what I can tell you is, our goal is putting as many families in homes as possible in a way that is safe and conducive to a happy neighborhood.
Which brings me to my next set of questions. And it's kind of going off what Brad was talking about. You specifically are not going to say that this is for current deforest residents. Is this, or can you do that? And the reason I'm asking this is because you're asking for deforest tax money. So I wouldn't want to see anyone else. And I think we have plenty of people to choose from and that could benefit from this that are current deforest residents. But I think that I've seen before, because I'm familiar with your organization, that sometimes I'm seeing these families being transplanted from California to Sun Prairie. Or that sort of thing.
Okay.
And that's what I would not want here, because we're giving away this tax money. And this is deforest taxpayers' money.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is residency requirements for a period of time before you can apply to the program. They have to be, I think it's at least
Dane County residents for 12 months.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Dane County, I'm saying deforest.
Yeah. So
if you can keep it to that.
We'd have to discuss it with our community service about how to structure it in that way. I don't think we've ever, not to my knowledge, we haven't done that before. It's not to say that we can't structure a program a different way. I will say though, I imagine that there's probably a lot of first responders, teachers that work in deforest that don't necessarily live in deforest. So I don't know if there's a way for us to parse that, make sure that people that are working in want to live here.
That would be fine for those, right? But just to have people relocate from a different community, like, we'd like to move to deforest. I don't think that's right. So I would like to see some constraints on that.
Assuming it does not violate fair housing laws, let's talk.
Right, then that might be a problem, which might bring up a lot more.
Well, I was just going to say, I would just add that our down payment assistance programs in the other half of the bucket don't have a divorce only restriction. The project that we just reviewed, I would say, also is open to residents outside. So I just would offer that as well.
But that's not as big a project. But thank you.
Thank you.
That it, folks. Thank you, ladies, for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
I just wanted to make a motion to take things out of order to move 9.3 up ahead of 8.1 to continue these discussions.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch most of that. You want to move what? 9.3?
9.3, which is discussion about the possible award funding to have that discussion now while the information is fresh in our head.
We need a motion for that?
I just made the motion.
Sorry.
Was there a second, Megan?
I'll second.
Ooh, it's getting late.
Thank you, Alicia.
Alicia, was that you?
Yes.
Thanks. Second by Alicia. Okay, all those in favor of moving 9.3 out of order? Say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. So we shall move to discussion and possible action to award funds through the Home Reach to Forest Affordable Housing Development Fund.
I'd just give a little bit of extra context. I think this was all really good conversation that we've had so far and good presentations. This is obviously a new program for us, a new process for us too. So that I would just want to say off the bat, there's no right or wrong way to do this. The memo that was included in your packets tried to align as much as I could with the stated program goals in the Home Reach DeForest program, as well as some of our stated housing goals and housing strategy reports, comprehensive plan, some of those plans that we have in place as well. If you could scroll down to the chart there a little bit, whoever's got a mouse. A couple different criteria against the housing program itself. Obviously, I think the biggest one that was a clear priority for owner occupied in the Home Reach program, but both of these projects, I would say, really hit strongly on the goals that we've had for the community, both from a senior, affordable housing, owner occupied, and then also potentially looking at some of our workforce as well. From an affordability perspective, I would say both of these have skew more towards the heavier affordable level, which is obviously a need in the community too. Both of the development teams have significant experience. A couple different, I guess, deviations I would point out would be the Alice Place project is clearly closer to moving forward from an approval standpoint, a construction standpoint, whereas Habitat is a little bit earlier. Certainly both of those, I think, fit the character of their various locations pretty well as well. And then Habitat, obviously, that's been a priority redevelopment site for the community for quite some time. Whoever's got the mouse, if you could scroll to the second page. Couple of different points that weren't included in the Home Reach program itself. Again, sort of timing of this and the component of funding on each of these. I think for both projects, actually, the amount of funding that we'd be kicking in is smaller in proportional to the overall funding need. And then the last paragraph here, just sort of comparing, Jan, to your point, using taxpayer money, what's the tax implications of these developments? These are estimates relatively comparable in terms of annual property taxes, one obviously accruing a little bit faster than the other. And then finally, I try to lay out a few different options for structuring funding should you decide to make an award. And I want to say that it's at your discretion. So you certainly have the ability to wait for future projects as well. Although I would say that these probably align pretty well with the program. So I guess those were meant to be examples, not fixed dollar amounts in terms of you have to choose any one of those, but just to kind of get your wheels spinning a little bit. So with that, happy to kind of just open it up for discussion.
I do have one public appearance here. Dawn Clemens wishes to speak on the Home Center proposal.
My name is Dawn Clemens, 309 Mohawk Trail in DeForest. I've been a resident here in DeForest for 48 years, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to express my concerns about allowing zero lot line homes in our community, particularly the ones being proposed at the Holland Street property. Those kind of homes can also be called row homes, and that is a very small piece of land. Our village has been built around neighborhoods that offer reasonable spaces between homes. That spacing is part of what makes our community feel open, welcoming, and cohesive. Zero lot line developments would significantly change that character, creating a more crowded environment that doesn't reflect what many residents, myself included, value about living here. I'm also concerned about the long-term impact on property values and overall neighborhood appeal. Homes built extremely close together can make an area less attractive to future buyers, which may affect the stability and desirability of our neighborhoods over time. In addition, there's real quality of life considerations when homes are placed directly on or very near property lines. It reduces privacy. It increases noise concerns. It limits how residents can comfortably use their outdoor spaces. These are everyday impacts that matter to people who live here. There's also practical concerns to consider: drainage, snow removal, long-term maintenance between closely built homes, and higher homeowners insurance cost. These issues can create a challenge not only for homeowners, but potentially for the village as well. I understand and support the need for thoughtful growth and additional housing. However, I believe that growth should be balanced with preserving the character and livability of our community as it stands now. Once zoning changes like this are approved, they set a precedent that can gradually reshape our village in ways that may be difficult or impossible to reverse. For these reasons, I respectfully ask the board to reconsider or limit the use of zero lot line zoning and instead prioritize development that maintains appropriate spacing and protects the integrity of our neighborhoods. Thank you for your time. I think I just ran out of time, didn't I? Oh, good. Thank you very much. And I appreciate all of you working so hard on all of this.
Thank you, Don. And we'll go back to discussion.
If I could just add one more piece on some of the design
Sorry,
comments, because I think that I've heard it in a couple of the instances. Obviously, the site plan, and Jim, you alluded to it too, is very preliminary. So I can't speak for what the applicant is ultimately going to plan to put on the site if they were to move forward with the project. But I know that their engineering team has had preliminary discussions with our planner, Mark, about this, and some of that commentary is passed on to them in terms of street network and how that fits, row houses, townhomes, that I think is a forthcoming consideration. But in terms of that neighborhood itself, I don't know if if Bill or whoever's got a mouse can pull up GIS maybe. That is our traditional like RM6 neighborhood, which is smaller lot sizes. So you look at everything that's adjacent to there, and they are 50-foot width, which I think is probably the smallest in the village. So take that for what it's worth, all the design pieces out.
Can I ask, do you have to rezone for the row houses?
So this would have to be, no matter what gets developed here, this property.
It's gonna have to be rezoned.
Because currently it's institutional because of school.
I go back to your comment though that you just made saying that these are designed smaller lots for homes, not row houses.
Fred.
Is this program annually funded?
So this program, this is the first year we've had it. This program was funded through an extension of tax increment district number 3. And that was sort of a one-time capitalization of it across the board for both the development side and the other program that we're having. If we had the opportunity to do this either through a future TIF extension, that would be at your discretion to refund it, but it's not something where we're appropriating funds from property taxes annually. It was a one-time deal. Certainly, I will say that, it probably behooves us also to look at different grant pieces that are out there to just continue to bring funds into this if there continues to be demand.
Any other discussion?
Can we make a motion?
Says possible action.
So before we do that, I just want to describe what what potential next steps would be. If there was a decision to award funds to either of these projects or both of these projects, however that looks, the next step would be working through putting in place, which we're familiar with for other projects, a development agreement with the development team, and then that would come back for final approval at hopefully in the next meeting.
Did you want to make a motion?
Yes, I would make a motion to fully fund Alice Place, the $112,500, and defer funding for Habitat for Humanity until more is known about the project and it moves further along.
I'll second it for continued discussion.
Motion by Jan, seconded by Jim to fully fund Alice Place and defer funding on the Habitat for Humanity project until more information is available. Brett.
I personally really liked second option because I am definitely more in favor of individually owned homes. So that's a direction I would rather go in split funding for both, knowing that we still have a process to go through to finalize what this site might look like.
I'm sorry, I don't have what I want. What did you say? It was the second proposal?
Yeah, number 2 here.
This is what Jan just.
Yeah, so I did this one.
You
and
got
then
3.
Did that.
Okay. Alicia, go ahead.
I also too am going to echo sentiments with Brad, knowing that we'll have further presentations more favorable to funding both.
I guess we need, go ahead, Jim.
I just want to state that when I was reviewing this, looking at the different proposals last night, I actually came into this meeting thinking I wanted to fund more fully the Habitat and not fund Alice Place. But after the discussions, I was pleased to find out that you did add some aesthetics and worked with the staff to try to dress up that lot. I am still worried a bit about the aesthetics of it, but I also know that it's adjacent to industrial. So I think it can be appropriate and hope that the landscaping and stuff will help that lot. So because of what you did, I feel like I do want to fund at least a portion of what they're asking for the Alice Place. The Habitat, I am very in favor of that program. So I love to fund that fully too, but obviously we gotta figure out a balance. Again, I am very concerned about some of the challenges, the engineering challenges that you're gonna run into. So I'm personally okay with waiting on that because I want to make sure that those are things that you can overcome because I saw a blank line for the remediation. I'm concerned of what you might find with that and just the grading and the stormwater and things like that. I think there's going to be, hopefully it will be something that you get through rather quickly and we can have you come back here with better numbers. And that's sort of the feeling I'm feeling tonight. So.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to fully fund Alice and defer funding for Habitat for Humanity. Are you proposing something different now?
I am okay with sticking with that, but again, there's continued discussion if somebody wants to offer something different.
Here's a question.
Melanie, go ahead.
I just have a question. So looking at option 3, which was Jan's motion, which is deferring funding. Let me see. No, I'm getting confused. Yeah, deferring funding for Habitat with the potential for them to reapply when the project's further along. So what does that look like? Like how long do they have and are there restrictions or just what would that look like for the possibility of them reapplying if we don't give them funding tonight?
I would say there's not any restrictions built into the program in terms of when they could reapply. So they could technically reapply as soon as the next meeting. But I would think that having heard some of the comments, they may want to dig a little bit deeper into the details of their project before doing that, just based on the feedback that we've heard tonight. Unless you have a different recommendation on that, or if your motion said something different. So that's a long way to say there's no technical time frame in which they could come back.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I guess Alex or Bill or whoever can answer this. Can you tell us the potential future opportunities for extending? Is there any coming up in the near future too?
I'll lean on Bill for that, but I would say it's probably at least 4 years out would be my guess.
So yeah, so a couple of things to consider in regards to potentially when a taxi command district is closing. We anticipate that approximately 2029, 2030 would be the next available time, or when a taxi command district closes. We do have a rather large project in queue, which is the public service facility, potentially that we could balance that. So it's going to depend on how much increment is remaining, or the annual increment, and whether or not, the board at that time, what their priority is on some of this, revenue sources for affordable housing.
Can I talk? Okay, so going back to, first of all, Habitat for Humanity, please know that I was one of the trustees that said, yes, we'd like you to come to our community. I just can't go for this row housing. And this row housing actually came up on a different project than before you were here. It was somebody else. And I think when I'm proposing this about not giving any money to them this tonight, it's not that I'm against having that project, some sort of project from them here, because I find your organization to be valuable, but I just don't think we're at a point not knowing where the project is and how we're going to handle the applicants and who are they actually going to be. Are we going to be relocating people that really have nothing to do with DeForest at this point? Or are we going to somehow be able to condense that? And you heard the answers right here. They weren't able to answer that because they haven't done it before. That was the answer. They haven't done it before.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah, I think the answer also had to do with making sure we're not being discriminatory against the Fair Housing Act. And so I think that will come along, but I'm more open to going along with funding, knowing that very well, and there would be more consideration given to people who work here, which is in line with us bringing more workforce housing into DeForest. So I just have a question on, as the motion stands, if we wanted to fund both of them, do we have to make another motion?
Mm-hmm. The motion is to defer funding.
Then the second motion was from Brian. It's for the fund.
Oh, was that a full scale motion?
No. Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't think so.
I'm sorry, I thought it was.
Yeah, correct. I'm sorry, what was your question, Alicia?
More question about the motion. So if we
So I think we need to vote on the motion we have on the floor.
Okay, and if we vote, can we make a motion to fund both of them? Or if we knock this motion down, if it doesn't pass, then that means the first one doesn't go? I'm kind of confused on that
I
aspect.
need to consult higher up here. I'm going to say this much. I realize that Habitat for Humanity has a big project in front of them here. And I know we also need senior housing. But everything about what Habitat for Humanity is proposing is exactly what we've been talking about for, I don't know how many years now, workforce housing, people who work in our own village. And I understand you may not be able to limit to that, but at least you're going to give it a try. So I guess I would be in favor of, number 2. 75,000 for Alice Place and 225 to Habitat. That's my 2 cents on the whole issue. Now, we need a vote on the motion.
Colleen, to answer Alicia's question, if you wanted to do both, funding for both, you would have to vote against this motion. And then if it failed, then we would have to remake a different motion.
My understanding.
That's correct. Right.
Okay. Thank you, Brad.
Attempt
Trustee
to
Forrest.
amend the motion.
Well, amendment of the motion would be inconsistent with the motion to begin with, because the motion included funding for one and no funding for the other. So an amendment would be a different motion.
Let's just vote. I was just about to say that. Sorry. All right, the motion on the floor, which has been first and seconded, is to fully fund the Alice Place project and defer any funding to Habitat for Humanity. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no?
No.
No.
Motion fails. What do we got? 1 to 5. Now we need another motion.
So I'll make a motion to award funds through the Home Reach DeForest to, sorry guys, the Affordable Housing Development Fund for, I guess, both options, and also for Alice Place and Habitat for Humanity.
I'll second that. I guess I just am stating the clarification that funding both is the 75 and the 225. That was the option 2. Is that correct?
Alicia, are you referring to the number 2 that was in the packet, 75,000 allocated to Alice Place and 225,000 allocated to Habitat? Or number 1 is fully funding Alice Place and partial for Habitat? So Alice Place would get 112.5 and Habitat would get 187.5.
Fully funding both projects.
We can't do that.
We can't do
That
that.
one doesn't.
As much as I wish we could do
Over.
it, we've got $315,000 total. So in the packet, I just did the limited math that I'm capable of doing and tried to split those out. Certainly, those are not the dollar amounts that need to be made in the motion, but those are just examples.
Okay. So then it'd have to be option B, the 75 and
75,000 for Alice Place and 225 for Habitat.
Right.
Prioritizing funding for owner occupied development.
Okay. I thought that was what I was seconding, so I'll keep my second.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second for 75,000 to Alice Place and 225,000 to Habitat. Discussion, Jim.
My continued concern is the challenges that our Habitat is going to run into and what happens with that and how long it gets held up if we want to have a end date or a revisiting date or something.
Yeah, so that's what I was just asking our legal wizard about. So obviously, pending an award here, we would come back with a development agreement that would have some of the normal contingencies we're used to seeing. But certainly, if there's any specific additional contingency that you'd like to include for us to consider on that, now would be the time to voice that, I suppose.
Anybody have anything?
Is that something that we could talk about, the number of single family lots and things, or have that part of the discussion the next developer.
Al wants to speak.
I was going to say implicit in these motions is that the funding is going to be made available only if the projects are approved and go forward. So that's kind of automatic. I think if there are any other conditions you want to put on it, now would be the time to address that.
And to your point, Jim, so in the case of Alice Place, they've already moved through all of their approvals. But in the case of Habitat's redevelopment, obviously there's a lot more discretionary approvals, one of which would be the initial zoning approvals that they would have to go through. And the site details have a long way to go to, well, as you sit on P&Z, to kind of flesh out too as well.
Can I ask Al, you said how it's implicit that this gets approved, but what is the timeline on that? Is these, I guess I'm more familiar with, say, like subdivisions where there's different, say, 6 months and things like that. Is it just gonna hang out there till we get to the developers agreement, or is there an end date if we don't ever to a developers agreement?
Well, that's up to you. I mean, right now no money gets paid out unless the development goes forward. If you want to put a deadline on when that has to be, and I don't think that's a bad idea because you want to use this money for some project and you don't want it tied up forever for a project that may never happen. So it would make sense to put some kind of a timeline on when the development has to be approved and start construction or get a building permit or something like that.
Yeah, I guess my thought is somewhere like around 6 months. I don't know what that would look like. I suppose a site plan by 6 months, is that something accomplishable?
I think a 6-month time period to get to because this would likely be a plan unit development. To get to a final development plan would probably be a little bit quick. I don't know if we are able to, whoever's got the mouse, to pull up the anticipated timeline from the presentation. I would also say there could be potential other like progress contingencies. So for example, if they were unable to get the property under contract and move forward with development in 6 months, but we set a timing of getting a site plan at a year. Now, do we tie up the funds for a year, even if that project isn't moving forward? So there may be sort of an intermediary contingency to look at.
I like what you just said. At 6 months, we want to know whether or not
the site is under contract.
The site is under contract.
I mean, that certainly could be one.
And then within a year, they have to start construction.
Either site work. Yep, that could certainly be.
I would say within 6 months, having the site under contract and within a year to have a approved PDP.
Approved PUD, is that what you said?
Yeah, site plan, PDP, whatever it would end up being.
Yeah, I would just say, I guess I don't know 100% that this would go to a planned unit development. Certainly if they're able to make it fit in a final site plan.
Final site plan.
That would hit both of those.
I forget did I make the motion? I didn't.
No, I struggled to make the motion, Jim, but
Alicia, is that a friendly amendment?
yes,
Who made the motion, please, Kelly?
I did.
Alicia made the motion and Jim seconded the motion.
Yep, so I asked for a friendly amendment to add 6 months to have it under contract and a year to have a approved site plan.
And that's okay with Alicia?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so what we are voting on, or the motion is, I should say,
Do you want me to repeat what I have here?
Yes, why don't you?
All right, I would love to. So I have a motion by Alicia, seconded by Jim to award 75,000 to Alice Place and 225,000 to Habitat for Humanity on the condition that the site is under contract within 6 months and the final site plan approved in 1 year.
Perfect. Thank you, Kelly.
And those two conditions are on the Habitat, not Alice Place.
Well, they could be on both. They'll just meet theirs a lot faster.
Already approved, right?
Just one other thing, I think
Yes.
the motion should probably be conditioned on the execution of a development agreement because that is going to be a necessary step in this process.
Accept that as a friendly.
So
Alicia accepts it. Everybody accepts it. Kelly's got it.
And that is for both properties, correct? Okay.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion as read by Kelly? Vote aye.
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 All those opposed, no.
No.
Motion carries 5-1. Okay, next up.
Good luck with your projects.
Oh, I'm sorry. Discussion regarding an appointment process policy to fill vacancies on the village board. Bill Chang.
Before I get started, it looks like everyone needs a break because
You know what? That's an excellent idea. It's 7:55. Let's break until 8:05. Oh, yeah. discussion and possible action regarding the process for filling the vacancy in the office of village board trustee. Bill.
All right, so upon direction from the board at the last meeting, we put together a timeline here, schedule to consider applications for the vacant trustee position. A period to review those applications, and then potentially kind of collecting up to 5 candidates to move to the interview if we get more than 5. And so I've put out a template of that within the memo. A couple questions or direction that I need, Kelly and I need to go ahead and put this out there is, I believe we discussed at the last meeting that we were going to add questions to the application itself. So we have included in the memo or attached to the memo a list of proposed questions for you. This is a combination of questions that were revised from the last round. And then also questions that I received from trustees and from residents as part of this process. And so again, if we could kind of, I would suggest 3 to 5 of what your favorite questions are, and we can add that to the application. And then we can talk about the next step.
No, we do not.
I'm sorry, we do not have any public appearances on this.
We still do not.
Thank you, ma'am. Discussion. Anybody got anything? Jim?
I guess I'm indifferent to the questions. I would leave that up to anybody that cares. The only question I want to critique is the second bullet point. It says, why do you believe you're the best candidate? I think that's just opening it up people to compare to other current trustees or other candidates. So I would just ask that that be changed, why you're a good candidate or something similar.
I was actually going to suggest we don't ask that at all. I like the first, the third, the residential or future divorce and balanced economic growth. And then the last one of prioritizing concerns in the community. That would be 5 I would choose.
I hate that question. Why do you think you're the best candidate? Melanie?
That was going to be my comment. I also don't like that question.
Melanie?
If I can just add while I'm talking, I liked questions 3, 4, and 5, and 7 and 8. The first 2 and the third to the last about how you view municipal financing and standards of service. I didn't speak to me as strongly. But.
Anyone else?
Colleen. The other suggestion I was going to do is, I think you said you had, if we're going to get it down to 5, I'm fine with that. I'm just wondering if we don't ask 5 questions then when they're in person for that interview, it'd be less than an hour long. We have 5 candidates. I think if we're going to narrow it down, give the candidates a chance to talk a little bit so we can understand where they're coming from and their point of view on things.
Yeah, so following these questions, we would have, I would think, a new set of questions for the interviews. And so it would depend on how long with an introduction you'd want each to provide, how much time you'd want to provide for each candidate to answer the question. Anywhere between a minute 30 to 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 30, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, a tad long. But it depends on how extensive your questions are. So for example, for 5 candidates, a short introduction and 5 questions straight through, that's an hour long already. So you consider, a break in between each candidates when you're rotating them in and out. You're probably at an hour and 30 minutes, hour 45 minutes at that point. And then for the remainder of that meeting also, time and consideration for grading, and then also discussion, potentially an appointment. So we're talking about a 2-hour meeting with 5 questions, 5 candidates, and an introduction. If it all runs smoothly.
I had answered your earlier email about when you put questions out, but it looks like they were different than what was in the packet. And I know I liked, what do you see as your primary role as a trustee? What's your vision for the future and how would you balance growth and need, residential needs? And describe your priorities for the board. And specific qualifications to effectively address them, I believe is what I like. However that fits in with what everybody else is saying here.
Sorry, I should have numbered these to make them easier for you. So right now, what I'm hearing, see 1, 3, 5, 7, and 8 seem to be the top ones.
Yes.
Sorry, could you repeat that one?
Yeah, 1, the first one.
Yep.
So please describe priorities which you believe the village board should address and your specific qualifications to effectively contribute to resolving those problems. 3, when the village board faces complex issues such as questions on public health or new developments, how do you approach decision making as a trustee? 5, what is your vision for the future of the forest and how would you balance economic growth with residential needs? 7, how would you consider input from the forest residents and businesses? And finally, 8, how do you prioritize addressing concerns within the community?
I guess my only comment with that is the last 2 you read seem to be pretty similar.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say 3, 7, and 8 seem fairly similar to one another, and I don't know if those could be combined into a single, more concise question.
I would say 3, I think, is getting us something a little different with like how they approach decision making, but 7 and 8 certainly I think could be combined to one question.
I agree with Melanie. Jan agrees with Melanie.
I would suggest just doing those 4 then, because if I remember right, the application process already had several questions and it was quite long.
Yeah.
So adding a few more, I think 4 more would be plenty.
Alicia, do you have something? If not.
I mean, so is campaigning, so I'm just kidding. I'm fine. I think you guys are on the right track with combining the last 2, and so.
Thanks. I hadn't looked right for a while, so I couldn't see if you had a hand up or not.
Nope.
Didn't want to forget about you.
No, thank you.
Jim?
I just wonder if we want to ask for like a limitation of a page or 2. I don't necessarily want to read a page on every question. Yeah.
We'll create a form for that. Limit the number of words in the text box.
I'll see what my limitations are on the application, the online. Hoping to do the same online application process that we used for the last time.
Did you get what you need?
Yes, for this portion. Second, kind of confirmation here. So what we would do is we would open the application process sometime tomorrow. Likely at the end of the day, we have about a month for the application period to be open. It closes June 5th, which gives us enough time to put together a packet for you to review and get that information out to you early enough for you to review. You'll then review it at the June 16th meeting, and I'll have a rubric for you to kind of score your top 5 candidates. What I'm proposing here is that we're not scoring each question. It's just, hey, 1 through 5, what is your top 5 candidates in no particular order. And then we would set that interview for June 30th. That's a special meeting, so we have an extra week in June. And again, you know, if we're thinking about 5 questions for that interview process and 5 candidates, we can expect that meeting to be an hour 30 minutes to about 2 hours. So if you could confirm that June 30th date works for you as a special meeting, I'd appreciate it. You don't have to answer me now, but just shoot me an email. And then, you know, that should be all that we need. Does that work?
That works. You need a motion.
I don't need a motion. We'll just go ahead and put it out there.
Yeah.
I'll ask a question. Please feel free to say absolutely not. I'm just wondering if we close the application period, say like I was guessing like May 27th or 28th, does that allow you enough time to get a packet together for June 2nd? So in effect, moving it up 2 weeks. I guess really anybody could say no, because then we're doing that on an actual meeting, so that might be too much for a meeting.
Yeah, I mean, we can adjust the dates as you wish, kind of also thinking about the back of that calendar, right? So with June having an extra week in there, it allows for you to have spacing between your meetings. If we pull that back 2 weeks, then we're running into other meetings and space availability here at Village Hall. So I think that's why we settled on that June 30th date. Of course, you can have a long period between application review and the interviews itself, but then you start to lose interest from candidates if you have too much space between them. The mindset changes.
Good. Good as is, thank you.
I can't hear you. What?
I'm good as it is proposed.
Okay, all right, we're good. Bill's got what he needs. Moving on to new business, discussion regarding an appointment process policy to fill vacancies on the village board. Bill?
So yeah, I believe this comment came up at the last meeting also, a recommendation of Al, that we go ahead and establish an appointment process policy, whether by resolution or otherwise, so that we don't have to run into these timing issues as the vacancies come up. So a couple questions here. First and foremost, let's start with the easy one and the most recent one. Does the process that we've set out currently on the appointment of the trustee seat, whereby application review, and then interviews, does that suffice for this group moving forward? If it does, we'll replicate this process into a policy document, and then we would bring that forward.
We have no appearances on this, correct, Kelly? No appearances, okay. Yeah, works for me. Jim?
I'd say it works for me. The only caution I'd have is if the timeline gets too short, say like if it's, I don't know, say November, I don't know if we want to go through the whole process if it's only going to be for a couple months.
Yeah, I mean, I think any policy would be, if the board decides to make an appointment, this is the policy that would apply. So it would always be up to the board whether to leave the position vacant.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Anyone else? Brad's good, Jan's good, Alicia's good, Melanie's good, okay.
And then the second part of this conversation, as long as we're writing a policy on appointment, the village presidency is also an elected position. So just want to confirm again that if it is decided to appoint the village trustee, that position, as we've done with the last couple of vacancies, is appointed from the village trustee. And that is set by first consideration of a permanent appointment or temporary, or do we write into the policy that it's permanent for the term? And then by nomination, or is there a different process for which you want to kind of work through that process?
Anybody got any input? Jim?
So apologize, I don't quite know exactly what you're asking. I know when I reading the packet, there was talk of like a vice president. I would think it'd just be more or less the interim until another president was appointed.
Yeah, and that could be a consideration. However, Al, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we're gonna have a policy on appointing a vice or as interim until a permanent can be appointed, does that have to be an ordinance?
Yeah, that would actually have to be a charter ordinance to create the position of vice president if you go that route. And then what the perks of that office are, whether they automatically become the president in terms of a vacancy or whether they serve as interim, that would all be up to you in deciding at the time of, as part of the charter ordinance.
For the policy portion, it's simply if the village board chooses to appoint, what does that appointment process look like?
Pretty much like it just did.
So by nomination?
Yes.
I was going to suggest permanent unless it's within 30 days of an election, which would do a temporary appointment until a permanent one can be decided after the election within 30 days. And then I am not in favor of creating a new position of vice president.
You're saying if the president's term, the vacant term would continue beyond the next election for another year, then if it's within 30 days of the election, you would want to terminate it at the election?
No, I think for the entire term, it'd be permanent unless there's an election within 30 days where the board would flip over.
Yeah, the problem with that is 30 days isn't enough time for anybody to get on the ballot for the president position. You'd have to.
No, it'd be appointed from a current trustee as a temporary position. Just
more or less what happened.
Oh, okay, I see
what almost happened here.
What do we need? Yeah.
Well, I don't guess I care really either way, but I just remember like in planning and zoning, I think we had like I don't know if we called it vice chair or just somebody that we didn't have to go through the process of bill coming up and say who's chairing. Does that need a charter ordinance or it's a facilitator or something?
I mean, you could certainly delegate somebody to chair a meeting when the president is absent. But if you're going to create a position where the person fulfills the president's duties beyond that, I think you need to go to a charter ordinance for that. So, I mean, the idea that Bill calls the meeting to order is by your ordinance. Just an ordinance created that rule. Without it, you had no rule. So you could certainly change that to somebody else by just changing that ordinance.
Okay, I guess my opinion, that'd be the furthest I'd really want to go, is just so we wouldn't have to go through that process if Colleen was absent, but it does, I guess, leave us open if, God forbid, something happens to Colleen, we might be without somebody for a couple weeks, but.
Y'all can take turns.
Great. I'm assuming we're okay with that. I mean, we sort of went through this period where we had Bill signing for the president or.
Yeah, I think upon a vacancy, we just have to remember to authorize at that point. We'll have to go through those preliminary steps absent a charter ordinance amendment.
I just want to point out a charter ordinance is not a big deal. It's like doing a regular ordinance, except that it requires a 2/3 vote and it can't take effect until 60 days and it's potentially subject to a referendum with people in the community. I think it's a really bad idea. But other than that, it's just enacted like a regular ordinance.
We done with this now?
So I just want to confirm.
Oh, no.
In regards to the appointment of the village president vacancy, that this group is in favor of appointing if this group is in favor of appointing a permanent member, that it be from the Board of Trustees by nomination, unless it's within 30 days of the end of term of that seat.
Sounds right.
Is that correct?
Just one gap in that, and that is if it's not permanent, how long is it?
So I was a little bit different thought is, let's say the scenario we just had, we're 30 days out from a trustee election. We would wait until that trustee election if it's within 30 days, because the board would then flip and we would have new members to vote. So it would be a temporary appointment until that election, where then it would be appointed as a permanent for the rest of the term.
Okay, so it would be an interim appointment that would run until the board makes a permanent appointment.
Correct. That might be more complicated. You want to go, and that's fine.
No, I'm just thinking, so, okay, so there's an appointment process for the temporary until there could be a permanent appointment for, unless it's within 30 days of an election, that permanent appointment should be stayed until after the election.
Where a new board may be seated. Correct.
Right.
My job is to find problems, so I'm just trying to make sure.
Please do.
The village president makes appointments to committees and things like that right after the election. What do you guys want to do in terms of that scenario where you're waiting to appoint a permanent president, but you have an interim president when everybody's term is expiring on committees and things like that?
I guess I would add, if you're appointing an interim, I don't necessarily see it as an issue, because the interim would then work on getting those appointments, because it's ultimately the board that approves those appointments. Correct? So it really shouldn't matter who makes the lines.
That's certainly a viable option. Yeah. I just need to know if that's what you guys want. Do you want the interim president making the appointments?
Or the village administrator. What's the likelihood of that's ever going to happen again?
I think we did
Never.
okay recently.
Yeah.
I am certainly willing to call out to appointees and confirm whether they would like to serve or not, but I think the board should be appointing them.
Okay.
Okay, so I think I have what I need. We'll put together a policy and get it out for your review at the next meeting and can make changes from there. I think it'll be more efficient to do it that way rather than try to solve every issue this evening. Thank you.
9.2, Resolution 2026-052. Resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with the DeForest Professional Police Association and Wisconsin Professional Police Association Law Enforcement Employee Relations Division relating to K-9 unit operations. Chief Olson.
There's a memo in your package. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Public appearances? None. Discussion and possible action. Anyone, Jan?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jan, second by Brad. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Uh,
For staying around, Chief.
9.4, ordinance 2026-005, an ordinance to rezone approximately 0.33 acres currently addressed at 612 Park Avenue to the RM3 residential mix two-family district in the village of DeForest. Alex.
You've, to borrow from Chief, you've got a memo in your packet. Brandy put this together. Planning and zoning did review this rezoning request at its meeting in April and recommended approval. We did have public comment as part of that rezoning. There were a few that had written statements, which I can certainly provide to you. Generally speaking, I would say most of the comments were in favor of keeping it to single family. This rezoning would allow for a duplex. So that's the general gist of it. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan. I would say it largely fits the character of the surrounding neighborhood. There's RM6 to the southeast, and then RM3, which this is a rezone to RM3 to the west. Happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions for Alex? No public appearances?
Yes, I believe the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on this and
yes,
public comments.
That's what I just said.
Is there a motion? I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-005 to rezone approximately 0.33 acres currently addressed at 612 Park Avenue to the RM3 residential mixed two-family district. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Jim. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Resolution 2026-053, a resolution accepting the lowest qualified bids and awarding contracts for chip sealing and crack filling, contracts A and B respectively, within the village. Greg, Judd, you want to go with the packet?
There's a memo in the packet. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
We have no public appearances? None. Okay, any discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept resolution 2026-053.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Jan, seconded by Jim. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Resolution 2026-054, a resolution supporting the establishment of a sustainable transportation funding solution. Mr. Chang.
I guess there was a memo in the packet.
There was a memo in the packet.
Um,
This is something supported by the Wisconsin League of Municipalities, and to make their case with the state, they'd like as many municipalities as possible to kick in and say, give us some more money for roads.
they set the they set their legislative agenda every year, getting prepared for the legislative session. Transportation aid has been stagnant for quite some time. There's a formula for which the amounts are determined. And so wherever we can, we are always looking for more state aid towards municipalities. This would include all local governments, so towns and counties also.
You didn't need action on that, did you? Or resolution supporting, I guess so.
Motion to approve resolution 2026-054.
Second.
Motion by Brad, second by Jan. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Oops, stand by.
I just wanted to ask, what are they actually asking for? Just additional funds, or are they asking for different creative fees and things like that? Because the state that I'm not necessarily for creating, say, wheel tax or other things like that.
Yeah, it's primarily additional funds into the general transportation aid bucket and allocation into it from different sources potentially, not necessarily just the taxes received by the state for it. That which could lead to other discussions. Generally, when these things are being negotiated at the legislative level, some folks may become creative in ways to put revenues into that bucket. So that's why I believe it's ran the way that it is.
We have a motion and a second. We need a vote. Do we need a vote or do we do a vote? We need a vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, no.
No?
5 ayes, 1 no. The ayes have it. Resolution 2026-055. Resolution authorizing the purchase of an additional census water reading tower for the water utility. Judd, Greg, and Brandon.
To echo my fellow team members, memo in the packet. Please let us know if there's any questions or concerns.
No public appearances. Is there a motion? Oh, Bill?
I want to restate the memo and make sure that the board knows that 53-719 is not in the current budget for the water utility, but financing has determined that there will be capacity within the utility to be able to support this project.
Duly noted. Where was I? Brad?
Can you just briefly describe how this works? It's not somebody driving around anymore, checking a meter. It's pulling data too.
Yeah, so we've got antennas, well, one antenna on the River Road water tower that actually comes over on point to point to the Madison Street Tower back to Penny's office, where they can do all the reads, and actually, and Marcia will review all the readings, like we can see how much people are using. And if they've got a spike in usage, she calls residents and we'll let them know, hey, you got a leak. But the majority of our issue right now, well, there's lack of redundancy. So if that tower goes down, we have to go out and read them, drive around and read them, which takes hours for 2-3 guys, which we had to do when we had the tower repainted last year. Wasn't fun. But we also since then have 200 to 225 water meters that we have to go out and read by hand. So by adding this extra tower should hopefully take care of that, and all the reads will be back here. So this tower will be down at Token Creek, Anderson Road Water Tower. It'll be a standalone pole.
Anybody else? All those in favor of resolution 2026-055 indicate by saying aye.
I don't think we had a motion yet.
Need a motion.
What?
You need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we did that.
Motion to approve resolution 2026-0555, authorizing purchase of additional census water reading tower for the water utility.
Thank you, Alicia. Motion by Alicia, seconded by Melanie. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Convene into closed session, discussion and possible action regarding the acquisition of public land for parkland and public service facilities. Village Board may convene into closed session as authorized by Wisconsin Statute 19.85, Parent 1, Parent E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The village board may reconvene in open session and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session. Bill.
All right, so as you know, we are working towards closing and working through the due diligence for the acquisition of the properties at 6889 and 6897, I believe. Northtown Road, which is the Laneberger Farm. The intention of acquiring those properties again was for a future site, a site for a future public services facility and a community park. As we worked through the inspections, we did find a number of defects associated with the home inspection at both locations, and then the shared well system. So we do have those contingencies within our offer to purchase the properties, and so this is the time and opportunity for the village board to consider those defects and whether or not there is a substantial impact to where the village stands towards the purchase of the property. Quite frankly, again, the property was intended to be purchased for the public services facility and park. However, we did not intend to construct that facility until 2029 or later, which leaves a couple of years in between. A consideration of bringing back revenue towards this property was to be able to rent the facilities or be able to utilize the homes for other uses. That option is jeopardized here by these defects, in that these would have to be addressed before we would be able to rent the homes out. Now, again, there wasn't ever a decision made by the village board to do that. However, it does impact the revenues, potentially helping to offset or compensating for at least a small portion of the purchase price. So at this point, need some direction from the board. If the board would like to consider any change in terms or potentially negotiation, deliberation of the defects, I would recommend moving into closed session. If the board is thinking, hey, we purchased this for a certain reason, we're not interested in being landlords, and we want to move forward to closing, then simply instruct me to do so. I will continue to move forward in our due diligence. We do have remaining is our environmental phase 1 assessment, and then an ALTA survey of the property. These inspections, except for the the environmental, except for the ALTA survey, is intended to be completed by May 22nd, and the closing is set for July 1st.
Public appearances? None. Discussion? Oops. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
I was just gonna ask if the property owners have been talked to, and have they offered to remedy any of these defects?
Well, we've sent over the inspection reports. They've acknowledged receipt of them, but there has been no offer yet. Quite frankly, they are waiting for a response from the village.
Motion to convene into closed session.
Motion by Brad to convene into closed. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jim. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, no. Oh, I'm sorry. We need a roll call. Kelly. Thank you.
Trustee Bardoff,
Aye.
trustee Cords, trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Stefan Hagenhan,
Aye.
trustee Williams,
Aye.
and President Little.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Well. All right, reconvening into open session, action resulting from closed session. Possible action regarding the acquisition of public land for parkland and public service facilities. No action coming out of closed. Check register communications is next. Check register is in your packet. Committee, commission, board reports, those minutes were all in your packet. Any questions on anything? No? President doesn't have a report. Any other business that lawfully comes before the board?
Colleen, I was wondering if you just wanted to talk about your listening sessions that you're going to hold.
Oh, well, I'm going to try something. Friday, it's going to be my first, what Stacy has named Community Conversations. I'm just going to be available from 9 until noon. Just at the little discovery room here, for lack of a better place to get started. And see if anybody shows up and just get to know each other and see what their concerns are. If there's any interest in it, as things go on, I'll move the day of the week, I'll move the time of the day, I'll move the location, just to try and accommodate as many people as we can. Thank you, Brad. Next up is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All talk at once.
Go ahead, Melanie.
Who made the motion? Oh, you did? I didn't even hear you.
I literally didn't say it.
I'm sorry that I didn't hear you.
It's like I
just overtalked you.
Alicia, did you make that motion?
Maybe it was Alicia.
It was Jan. We were at the same time. Nobody said anything, so there's a little
Motion by
pause.
Alicia to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. We are adjourned at 9:13.
Okay, so it was Alicia that was saying something.
Sorry, guys. Bye.